Today we're going to continue where we left off from the previous video, and then we're going to continue with Microsoft Exchange. We're going to assume a role of Microsoft Exchange administrator, and I'm going to present to you an idea of what you might expect if you get hired to specifically be Exchange administrator. It's a very good video, so let's get into it. Before we begin, please take a moment to say hi, hello, or present. It's sort of like a roll call in the class. That way I know you're present and you're interested in this type of content in the comments below. Thank you so much, and let's get back to the video. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Irvin, also known as Kobuman. Today we're going to continue our 365 training. So in the last video, we've set up a help desk team. Well, it was more of a beginning of setting up a help desk team where we grant access to certain things and give certain accesses. We're going to expand on that, but we're going to expand it within Exchange administration, Microsoft Exchange administration. What we're going to do here is we're going to look for our tier 2 help desk person, which was Tracy Moore. We're going to do it from here in the admin center. We're going to look her up, and we're going to give her more permissions. And what we're going to do, we're going to assign her a role that will give her Exchange access permission. And I'm going to show you a few places where you can do this. Scroll down, select manage roles, and then from here we can add more roles. Now, we've already given her global reader and help desk administrator. However, she doesn't have any access to any of the Exchange stuff, Microsoft Exchange stuff. Now, I cannot give her a full Exchange administrator privileges because this is for the Exchange administrator. And for those reasons, we will create an Exchange administrator that will do all of these things for her, which we will do right now. And then we're going to pretend that this Exchange administrator is doing all of this work that needs to be done. What she actually needs is basic access to the Exchange that we will talk about. And there are a few places where you can get that and where you can start that, including the Exchange Admin Center. Okay, so we've hired an Exchange administrator from the outside, then we're going to create a login account for them first. So we're going to click add user. I'm just going to do it from here. Of course, you can do it from Azure Active Directory if you want, but this time we're going to do it through here. We're going to call him Bobby Smith, and we're going to give him a username of Bobby S. I'm going to set the password. I'm going to do this real quick through here, and here are licenses. Of course, we're just going to select the standard license, which should be fine. I'm going to select next, and we're going to set up roles through here, and we can also do it through the roles tab. But let me show you how it's done through here. So roles right here. If I go here, I can select admin center access, and if I'm going to make him an Exchange administrator, I would simply select Exchange administrator. So let's kind of read what it says here. Full access to the Exchange online, creates and manages groups, manages service requests, and monitors service health, which is perfectly fine because this person is going to be full Exchange administrator. So I can just do a check mark here, Exchange administrator, and I'm going to click next. And it's simple from here. We can edit his profile. We can certainly do that later, but for the sake of continuing this, we're just going to click finish adding. And now we got Bobby Smith, who is going to be our Exchange administrator. I'm actually going to go and find Bobby Smith in here. The reason I want to do it, and I should have actually done it earlier, is because I just want to set his title so that he's known to be a Bobby Smith, as in the Exchange administrator. So when you look him up as a contact within like Outlook or something like that, and you search for Exchange administrator, Bobby Smith is going to come up under that. So we're going to do, what we're going to do here is just from here, scroll down and select manage contact information. And I'm just going to set the title here to Exchange administrator. Sorry, I can't spell. Administrator. And department, we're just going to say IT. and then other stuff we can fill out later. I just wanted to add his title so it's easier to keep track of. All right. So now Bobby logs in. Let's pretend we're Bobby now. Let's pretend that you are Exchange administrator, and now we can log into Exchange admin, and then we can start adding things. Now let me show you this other place where we've added Bobby. We've given him Exchange admin role, and here it is, Exchange. I don't remember how we added it through the admin, so when we selected admin. If we go into roles here while we're inside of Microsoft 365 Admin Center on the left and click on role assignments, we can see that he's in here as well. So what we need to look for is Exchange administrator. So if we scroll down or simply look for it, in this case, I guess we're just going to scroll down, and then we find Exchange administrator. When we click on it, now we can see that he's in there as well. And it tells you how many people are assigned to be Exchange administrator, and we have 2 so far. And I think the first one was from our previous sessions that we've done on the first series of Office 365 videos. So we got 2 people actually now, which is Samantha Rogers, and then we've got Bobby Smith that we've added in here. And of course, if he's not added in here, we would simply select add, and then we would search for people and just add them in there, select them and add them in there. So that's 2 ways of doing this. Now, while we are here, I want to point out something here. We see where it says, we're still under role assignments. And then first tab, we got Azure AD, and the next one is Exchange. This is different from the Azure AD one because this one gives you more of a global access. Like in this case, we've added an Exchange administrator access to Bobby because it's a more of a global access. If you want to be more specific, for example, certain aspects of Exchange, we would do it through here. And for those reasons, we are now working as Bobby, right? We're going to pretend like we're working as Bobby, and now we're going to start giving access to those people that have been hired for help desk. This is his first job order. He just got hired and he's going to get to it. So he's going to do it through here. Here's one way to do it. So Exchange through here, through the admin center. So make sure Exchange is selected, and then look for help desk access. And here it is. If we scroll down, we don't have to go far, or we can just search for it. And let's read what this says here. It says, members of this management role can view and manage the configuration for individual recipients and view recipients in Exchange organization. So that's perfectly fine. We can, that's fine. For our members of help desk, I'm okay with this. Now, of course, your organization may not allow this, may only allow the, Exchange admins to do this. But in my case, I'm going to trust my help desk employees. I'm going to let them do it. So again, to kind of continue reading, actually, is that members of this role can only manage the configuration for each user can manage on his or her own mailbox. So what does that mean? The configuration and changes that you can do as the member of this role, the only thing you can do is the same stuff that the user themselves can do. So it's limited to only that. So you can do things on behalf of users, right? So if a user calls in and it says, I need help with this or that in regards to email, you can make these changes on behalf of the user, and it's limited to that. Now it does say here additional permissions can be added by assigning additional management roles to this role group, meaning that we can add other roles on top of this role that would basically include those permissions as well. So, and that's perfectly fine. And so in order to add, for example, Tracy Moore, we just click on assigned. So let's just kind of roll back here. I've clicked on help desk here. And then if you click on the second column here, a second tab, if you will, to assigned, then we can add people in there. And then we're going to simply select and search for them. So let's do Tracy Moore. Here's Tracy. We're going to add her. And then we can also add, well, were there some other people? Well, let me do a scroll down here. I think people that we've added before were, bear with me, I think it was Murta Yaran in the last video. So I'm going to add them. And there are 2 more which we're going to do through the Exchange Admin Center. So I'm going to click add, and now these 2 employees have these permissions to basically adjust user mailbox type of permissions. roles, I should say. And that this permission tab here is to basically add other permissions on top of the current permissions. You see it says here, add or remove the roles to the help desk. Roles define the tasks and resources that members assigned to roles can manage. So if I wanted to, for example, add full access to anything, I can certainly do this, and that would be perfectly fine. But keep in mind that at this point you are modifying this help desk role, which has these current limitations where you can only adjust settings for users configuration, the same thing that they can do. So if you go to permissions here, you're basically modifying this role, which is help desk. Okay, you give it more, or you remove or less, or whatever it is that you've been told to do. Okay, but we're going to keep it simple, so we're just going to keep moving on. So if we go to Exchange, inside of the Exchange Admin Center, now we're still working as Bobby. He's the new Exchange admin. Now we're going to have to add those two other people, those roles. And it's kind of done the same as in Microsoft Admin Center. And if we select roles, we can click admin roles here. And then if we scroll down, we can find help desk. Notice that this is the same thing as roles over here, right? You see it says, so now we are, let me backtrack here because I want you to understand this. Roles here and roles assignment here. And then if I click on Exchange, right now we're only viewing Exchange roles, right? It's the same thing as clicking roles here in the side of Exchange and then selecting admin roles. And you can compare here. If you want to pause the video, you can compare here that it's the exact same thing. You see? We got compliance management, discovery management on top here, and then we got compliance management, discovery management down here. If we scroll down, here is our help desk under global reader that ends with 468. And if we scroll down here, we got help desk under the global reader, which is 468. What I'm trying to say is this is the exact same thing, just done different way. So if I select help desk, here we add people the same way we've done it through the admin center. So this is a second way of doing it. So we're going to go click assigned. We can see the people that we've already added. I'm going to click add, and I'm going to add two of those other people that we've created for help desk. And I think they're on the bottom here somewhere. Yeah, it was Yassine, and it was Sanji. So we're going to add them. And here they are. Now they have those accesses. Now it is slightly different here, how it shows up as a type, which I honestly can't explain because it's the same role that you're giving them with the same permissions. So why the type is listed differently, maybe just to indicate that it was added through the Exchange. And if we click on permissions, we can see that there are other permissions, just like the other one where we can add more permissions if we want to. So what else can we do? Since we are inside of Exchange Admin Center, let's kind of expand on it. What can Bobby do? What else can Bobby do? Here's inside of Exchange Admin Center, and then the first thing we've got here is recipient. So if we select mailboxes here, you can simply see the mailboxes of people, right? These are mailboxes of everyone that is within the organization. We can see their email addresses and their mailboxes. From here, we can do some administration. So let's say here, the first person here is Abigail. If we select on Abigail, we can see the basic information on them, which is fine. We can do this from Admin Center too. But let's see here what else we have. We got what's related mostly is here delegation. We can basically send as permissions to delegate to send email from this mailbox. Message will appear to be have sent from this mailbox owner. And that's exactly what it is. If this was a mailbox that was a group mailbox and not individual mailbox, we can change these settings. And we're going to talk about that when it comes to the mailbox themselves, not for the individual user. This is not what you would normally want to do for individuals. So this is the send as and send on behalf permissions or delegations are done usually for shared mailboxes, and we're going to talk about that. So if I select on mailbox here for this individual user, for Abby here, then we can see certain things, like for example message size restrictions, and we can change this. The maximum size of email sent here is 35 megabytes, and then we can change that. If we click here, we can select and we can change the size. You have to be careful with this. If you make it too big, then it can slow down the Exchange server. If it has to process this data, it can slow things down. So if we go back here to the mailbox, we can set up email forwarding. And this is the same thing that the help desk people that got those help desk roles that we've assigned them, those specific Exchange roles, this is the type of thing they can do in here. You know, they can manage email forwarding. I'm pretty sure they cannot make these changes unless we give them that access, but they can manage these email forwarding settings. This is something that that users can do on their own. If they don't know how to do it, you can do it for themselves. And then we got things here like message delivery restrictions. I'm gonna stay away from this because I don't want to complicate this. This would be further in possibly in more advanced video. But this is the gist of it when it comes to that mailbox. And if we click on other things, this is just basic things that you can, permissions, this and that, members of group. Again, this is something in a more of advanced video. All right, so let's look at other things, what Bobby here, as in Microsoft Exchange administrator, can do. Of course, under the mailboxes, while we're still here, we can see that we can add a shared mailbox if we wanted to create. So what is a shared mailbox? It's basically a mailbox that's shared amongst multiple people. And that's where that send as and on behalf of comes in. We have shared mailbox created already. So we're just going to click on this one that I've created from before. And we're going to see some of these settings that we've talked about. And that was that delegation. So this is a shared mailbox. This is just was created in one of my previous videos. So it's basically labeled clearly as a shared mailbox, not for an individual. This is a shared mailbox. And then we select delegation and we can see the send as information here. So if you select this and edit it, it says the send as permission allows to delegate the delegate to send an email from this mailbox. So simply we're going to allow somebody else to send email from this mailbox, which can be added later to their Outlook if they have access to it. So we're going to click edit and then we're going to add members. So let's, for example, add I don't know, let's say, matter of fact, because it's just fresh in my mind, let's just add Tracy Moore to this shared mailbox just to keep it simple. And now Tracy can send on behalf of this mailbox. She can have access to this mailbox and she can send as the email coming from this mailbox. So whenever she sends email, she can select to send an email from new shared mailbox, meaning that whoever received this email, it's going to say received email from new shared mailbox from that email address. Okay, so if we collect, I don't know if she's added in there. It may take a little bit to add. She's not there. It takes a little bit to update this, but we've added her. So let's go back to well, you see how it is. It updated. It just took a little bit. If we go back to delegation, the other thing here is read and manage full access. Now, this is, of course, a little bit different from individual mailboxes that we've seen. The option was different, and that option was, let's just randomly pick a person, is send on behalf. And again, usually this is not done on behalf of somebody else using their email, but if it's something that the organization does, your company does, then you can certainly make these changes. So let's compare it to the shared mailbox. This is an individual mailbox. It says to send on behalf, permissions allows the delegate to send email on behalf of this mailbox. The only reason I can think of to actually do this is if somebody's been let go and they have contacts in their mailbox that their people are reaching out to them and asking for help. Somebody can send an email on behalf of Johnny here and say, hello, this is, I don't know, Tracy Moore on behalf of Johnny. Johnny is no longer with the company. Please send further emails and inquiries to this other mailbox. That's the point of this. Now let's go back to the shared mailbox. And if we go to delegations, this one says read and manage full access. The full access permissions allows the delegate to open this mailbox and behave it as the mailbox owner. So this goes back to the part where I say you can add this mailbox inside of your Outlook as another mailbox, right? So if I click edit, we have to add the other members into it. So right now there's nobody in there. You see, it's how it's kind of slow, but that's okay. We're going to add member, and we're going to add Tracy so she can do this as well. Otherwise, if we haven't done this, Tracy can open up her Outlook. She'll open up her Outlook and she can change the send as to something else. So this is basically what would happen. She would compose an email. Here it is, from, show from, and then she can change this from to something else. See, there's from Irvin dot, but she'll have other email addresses, and one of these email addresses, which is this one, new shared mailbox, will show up. You see what I'm getting at? I think that's fairly explanatory. And since we've added read and manage full access, now she can go in and she can add that mailbox inside of her as a secondary mailbox. And that's simply done by adding a new folder. Add a shared folder, and then we would pick that shared mailbox like this, add, and then whatever is in that mailbox, if we expand it, you see it says I don't have permissions. See, I haven't added myself to have permissions, but you know, she can do it because she's been added permission, and this is the proof of actually doing that. So this is for Irvin. Let's add him in there to the shared mailbox as well, so we can prove that this is working like so. Where's Irvin? Here he is. I'm going to add him, confirm, and it's going to take a little bit here, and let's see how long it takes. So it may take a little bit here I'm just going to do a refresh. I think it's about 30 seconds. It shouldn't be more than that. It's thinking about it. You see when I click on it? Oh, it's still... It's going to take a little bit here. So this is the gist of the shared mailbox, and I feel like this is very easy to follow and understand. So it's very important to know these things. I'm going to try again to see if I... Okay, it's going to take a while to take effect. So that's a good point. You know, when you add somebody in there, it's going to take a while for him to gain access. You know, I'd say give him half hour. Say check later in half hour or something like that. So that's fine. Anyways, and well, what else can we talk about here? I think we're pretty much here with mailboxes. I think that's self-explanatory. If we select on groups, now what is this? This groups part of it is basically creating a group that gives you a few options. So let's go ahead and click add group and see what options we have. What are these groups? Now, if we select on first option here, we leave it at this version where it says Microsoft 365 recommended. What is this group? And this group allows teams to collaborate by giving them a group email and a shared workspace for conversation files and calendars in Outlook, and they are called groups. So it just says in Outlook they're called groups, right? So it allows teams to collaborate by giving them a group email. What is a group email? That's that shared mailbox that we just talked about. And then shared workspace for conversations. What is that? That's Teams access. So it's a place to chat, to collaborate, you know, like a messaging system where groups can be in the same group and talk about projects, work that they're doing, assisting each other, etc., etc. Files, this refers to the SharePoint. They can have SharePoint access, and then of course calendars. It's a group calendar. And then it says here in Outlook they're called groups. So if I go back to Outlook, you know, under groups, it would show up here, you know. This still hasn't updated. That's okay. So that's first option, and they recommend it because it creates all of this and it's less work for you. And I recommend doing this for a new department or if you're creating a new group. And then we've got other option here, which is distribution, and creates an email address for a group of people. So that's all this is. Email addresses, a list of emails, right? So we can, if we could create a distribution, we can name it, for example, help desk. We can name it help desk, and all of those people within that are added into that help desk distribution, all it is just a email list of people that work for help desk. So if you send an email to that distribution, which is an email, then they would all get that email. And we've done that in the last video, by the way. And then we've got mail enabled security. So what is this? Sends messages to all members of the group and gives access to resources like OneDrive, SharePoint, and admin roles. So that's what it is. It sends messages to all members of the group and gives access to resources like OneDrive, SharePoint, and admin roles. It's kind of self-explanatory when it comes to this. So if we create mail-enabled security, all it is sends a message and lets them know that they've received access to OneDrive, SharePoint, or some kind of admin roles, right? And then you would add these people into that group. All the members of that group will receive these emails. It's just a notification email, basically. It says, "Oh, hello Bob, hello Tracy, hello Myrta. You've received access to OneDrive. You've received access to SharePoint. You've received admin role." Not something you have to worry about at this point. This is more of like an advanced type of administration, in my opinion, but we can certainly expand on it in future videos, of course. And then we've got dynamic distributions, which sends email to all members of the list. So it's kind of like the regular distribution. However, the group's memberships list is updated every 24 hours based on filters and conditions you set. So whoever controls this distro is somebody who's going to be actively adding and removing people, and for those reasons you want the dynamic distribution list. So it's an email list, but if people are constantly wanting to be, for example, removed or added, they can certainly do this. You know how you get emails from some companies and you're like, I don't remember signing up for this? You can select to unsubscribe, and this is what happens, right? This is automatically, well, it should be automatically removing people from these dynamic distribution lists. So you know how you get those emails and you're like, I don't want these emails, and you click unsubscribe. This is what that is. Okay, and I'm gonna just cancel out of it because I don't, we don't have time to get into it at this point, at this video for this time. And there are other things here we can talk about, resources and contacts. We can certainly do that, but let's kind of stick to the main things that Microsoft 365, Microsoft Exchange admin would do. So let's look at the mail flow, and I've talked about this before too. And here, if you select mail flow, you can do a message trace. So if somebody has lost an email or hasn't received an email, we can start to trace. For example, if we select here, and then if we select a recipient, for example, and let's do Tracy Moore. Let's say Tracy says, I can't view email that I am supposed to get. A customer is supposed to send me an email and I'm not be able to receive it. You can do a trace to see if this email actually processed and if it came through. And you specify the time frame of how far you want to check. So if it was within the last 7 days, which is kind of a typical thing you would do, you would just leave it at 7 days, and then it would check all the emails that came through. So if we click search, it would give you results. And here are some emails that Tracy has received. So here she received an email here which says you've joined the help desk group, and then here's just a regular Microsoft advertisement email that she had received. But if you click on one of them, you can see the statuses and what exactly happened within the email that was received. And if it says here received properly or processed or delivered, this is all green, meaning everything is good. But if there are issues, for example, it didn't go through, it was blocked, these things would be turning red. And then you would find the reasons why this would, and then if there's an issue with it, for example, then you can, move on and try to troubleshoot with that. But let's say it's a spam email and it's bad, that's blocked by the server, you can report this message. If you select report message, and this message would go into security and security administrator, which is now called Microsoft 365 Defender, would work on this and trying to figure out whether this email is bad or not. Okay, let's stick to the Exchange admin. We can talk about security in future videos. And then under mail flow, if we click on rules, here's one that's just called blocking viruses. This is the one I've created, and it just says this is a rule that blocks certain type of messages. So let's kind of double check this. We can create new one, but let's kind of double check to see what this one is about. And I'm pretty sure I created this one to block emails with any attachment that has executable content. What that means is that it's usually a virus. So if somebody sends an email and there's an .exe in it, there's a chance that it's a virus. Unless you're, you know, unless you're talking to your buddy that is working on some kind of program and he's like, hey, I need to send you this program, within the same organization, within the same company, then, then might be okay. But, so this is a rule. So email rule, and you can set up multiple rules in here, and then you can create new rules and do all kinds of things that would filter different kinds of emails. So Bobby would be working on this, and he would probably love it because he likes this. And I think I'm going to leave it at that because this video is getting pretty long. I'd like at least half an hour, and I want to create another one here shortly because my licenses, to be honest, are starting to expire soon. So I'm going to try to make as many videos as I can before that expires. And, this one is getting pretty long and I need to get to editing this one. And yeah, I need to get this going. If you like this type of content, please let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like to, send me a tip, you can certainly do so. I have what's it called, a website link to basically send me a donation, which is called Buy Me Coffee. None of this is required, but if you want to send me buy me a coffee or something like that, you can certainly do so. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll talk to you later and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.